Well, he's an author, comedian, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, mentor, philanthropist, and a New York Yankee superfan. Steve Melia joins Canada Now. And Steve, it's been a few years since we last spoke on local Toronto radio, so good to have you back.
Hey, thanks for having me back, man. Congratulations on your show. Excited to be on.
Oh, Steve, appreciate it. Thank you very much. And let's look back, because in 2011, you wrote your first book on how you went to all 162 Yankee games that season, called it 162, The Almost Epic Journey of a Yankee Superfan. This year, along with your girlfriend and your dog, you're at it again.
Yeah, we are. And, the Yankees have such a powerhouse team this year that we went to the last 7 playoff games of 2017. And so I had an active streak of 8 games going. And I'm the world record holder, as far as I know, for 176 straight baseball games without missing one. And so we thought, what a fun season to be able to sort of break that record. And we're actually doing something called the 162 Home Run Challenge, where we're raising money every time a Yankee hits a home run. People pledge anywhere from 50 cents on up, and we've already raised a couple $1,000s just in the first games, which is awesome.
Well, that's fantastic. And where is that money going?
So what we did is we decided to team up with 4 charities. One is the Fallen Firefighters. Then we have cancer organizations. One is Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is the largest cancer center. Another one is a guy named Ed Randall's Fans for the Cure. He's a big baseball personality here in New York City. And then Work, Play, Love, which is an orphanage in Guatemala. And so we want to sort of spread the love around and just, get a lot of people involved.
Well, lots happening for you guys on this. It's not just taking in ball games. You got a podcast as well, the 162 Experience. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my girlfriend and I decided to do the journey together, and I tell you, without her, it'd be really hard for me, because I got no technical background or anything, and she's sort of my executive producer as well as running the whole tour. But the idea is to go around North America and interview successful people in sports, business, and life, and I've been doing the podcast. This is our 2nd season now, and as we find stories of inspiration. People or inspirational organizations that are doing great things, and this gives us the opportunity to highlight the charities as well as fun. So, we're on the road, but we're certainly putting in a full-time effort.
Yeah, well, check out the 162crew.com. What goes into planning something like this, Steve?
Well, the first time was totally different. The first time, I don't live in New York. I live in South Carolina. And I have a brother that lives in Massapequa, so I would stay at his home and I would drive to all of the home games and then plan the travel for all the away games. And this year we didn't want to really spend so much time in the car, so I'm in my apartment right now in the Bronx. We're a mile and a half from Yankee Stadium, and it's interesting. I mean, we're in a neighborhood that I've never lived in a neighborhood like this before. It's very people give us a lot of funny looks, but we're right in the middle of the Bronx. And there's just a lot of detail work, but thank goodness to have Marybeth, because she's doing most of the logistics, the airfare, the hotel, the tickets. We've got probably tickets to about 75 of the 162 games right now.
I see. Well, maybe more so the first time around. Well, I guess we should look back at the first time around. Like, it's good that you have Marybeth with you, because it's kind of like you're bringing home with you. But the first time around, did you ever just want to quit and go home?
Yeah, honestly, even we're 6 games in right now, and the weather has been, of course, in Canada when we were up there, they called it mild and balmy, but it's freezing out. Even today it's 35 degrees out. It's been raining almost every game, and so it sounds like a wonderful idea all winter, and then as you get close, you get excited. But it's a grind, man. I mean, you going to the games every day, and there's several points in the first time that no one's really even paying attention to you. Just going to all the games. I wasn't getting that much media or press or anything like that. And so having something that's a little bit more good for humanity, it just gives us something to fall back on, to know that even if we're exhausted, we're still doing something.
Yeah, that's right. And I was thinking as well, like, if this were me on the trip, well, I don't know, maybe this wouldn't be the case, but I would think, I'm a big fan of ballpark food. Like, I love, especially, with the experience you're having of going to all the different stadiums, and every stadium is a little bit different. They might have some kind of dish or food that would be unique in their own way, given the city that they might be in, what have you. So for me, I would just eat a ton on this trip, on this really long trip that you're on. What's your diet like? Are you able to kind of keep yourself in check a little bit?
Well, it's interesting. The home games, we're finding out what the food in the Bronx is like, which is very different for us as well. But, you know, I'm the whole idea for me, at least on the first tour, was to be on a budget. You know, everything we would do, I would multiply times 162. And the food in the stadiums are very expensive, let alone for one game, let alone for a whole season. So I'm not really a foodie. I'm not like looking to go to Detroit or, you know, Kansas City and try the barbecue and all the different things. I'm sort of trying to keep everything low on a budget. Of course, that's not easy, and that's always a challenge. So, you know, the food isn't really had been my number one priority.
Well, no, I would guess that, but nevertheless, you're hungry. There's the food, so you might want to indulge more often than you think you should. You know, given everything that you are and all the different things that you do, specifically, you know, being a comedian, a motivational speaker, I would think that you're no stranger to travel.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, I know people. I have a social network in just about all the cities. We're just up in Toronto, and we stayed at a friend's house for 4 nights, and so really cuts down on the cost of staying in hotels. And there's a lot to think about. You know, when you book a trip, you have to think about if there's a rain out, and we book a lot of one-way trips because if part of the trip gets rained out, and you might have to come back, it'll cancel all of the legs of the flights. We try to take the first flight of the day if possible. So if there's a 6 a.m. and not 10 and 11, you know, the first flight rarely is delayed because they're the first airplane out. So there's a lot of things to really consider. Right now we've got all of our flights and hotels booked through July. So, but, you know, it never gets easy.
No, I would think not. And, you know, I wonder, though, I got to ask, I expect this Yankee team to go all the way to the World Series. If that's going to be the case, are you going to be along for that ride too?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's sort of that. We're still working on the working title. We're going to write a book about this adventure too, and sort of the fun of these. Marybeth will write, and I'll write, and the idea is we'll never look at what the other person writes until the end. So she might be right. No, this is horrible, and I'm right. Hey, this is the best time of our life, and when we're experiencing the same thing 2 different ways. You know, so the idea is you know, one of the titles we're working with is possibly 162, Unfinished Business, you know, which is, you know, hopefully the Yankees would take that title home. But they look strong, man. It's you know, just yesterday with Sanchez, Judge, and then Stanton all hit home runs, so they're looking great right now.
Yeah, they do, and I love that aspect of you know, looking at possibly this book with having both of you write. I think that's a very intriguing detail with this book. And we last spoke when you self-published your second book, The Last 42, which was a celebration and a goodbye to Yankees legend Mariano Rivera, and maybe more importantly, a tribute to your late brother Jim.
Yeah, thanks for remembering that, Jeff. I certainly appreciate it. Thanks for mentioning. Yeah, you know, it took me a couple years to get that out and to get it published. And you know, to me, it was just really, like you said, a memorial to my brother. He had passed right during that season, and I was watching all of the different stadiums say their goodbyes to Mariano, and they were doing it, you know, big presents and big send-offs. And I thought, you know, what a better way for me to say goodbye to Jim and Mariano than to do something special like that. So it wasn't you know, it wasn't quite as tough. It was only 42 games, so the name of that was The Last 42, sort of a play on words with Mariano's number and Jackie Robinson and the last 42 games of his career.
Yeah, well, it's a good book. I mean, you get laughs, you get tears from that book. And, you know, Steve, you're a big believer in living out your dreams and inspiring others to do the same. And I love that about you, that you go off and, like, that's something you care about in seeing that in other people.
You know, it really is. It really is. And I'm about to come out with my third book that's coming out in a couple of weeks. It's called 30 Ways in 30 Days to a Better Life. And, you know, the first 2 books were sort of about specifically living out a dream and doing almost like a biography. And this is one of just like, hey, here's 30 ideas, 30 tips. And it really is. That's probably the thing more than any money that I could ever earn is just having other people, you know, progress in their life or feel good about what they're doing, or just inspiring somebody to say, you know what, I've been working at this job for so long. Where am I going with it? You know, what else can I add to my life to make it a better life?
30 Ways in 30 Days to a Better Life by Steve Melia. It's coming out in a couple of weeks. Make sure you get it. Hey, Steve, enjoy the season. Best to Marybeth as well. Enjoy the rest of the way. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you when the Yankees come back to Toronto. I hope to have you and Marybeth here in studio.
Hey, thanks so much, Jeffrey. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, Steve, thanks a lot. There's Steve Melia, author, and, a bunch of other stuff as well. Good guy.